All right.
Good afternoon. Welcome to H&D Abroad. I am Herman.
I'm Dee, and I want to say welcome to our communities of viewers, and y'all aren't viewers, y'all are really family.
Absolutely.
And I am so excited about this topic, because I'm still researching where I want to land on the continent. And I'm trying to find a way to get there. And I have appreciated every conversation that we've had where people have shared their story. And this one is rich, rich, rich. I am so proud to offer the introduction. But first, for those of you who may be new, I'm Dee.
And I'm still Herman.
And we are H&D Abroad. On our channel, we are sharing our move abroad journey, which is we're getting close. We're getting close, and all of the decisions that couples will need to consider when you're someone like we are. We're not retirement age. We've probably got 12 or so years before we're even eligible, but we've decided to make moving abroad a priority, and we're trying to share our research, our discussions, our garage that needs to be cleared out, how we're talking to family and friends. And we're inviting people that we're meeting along the way that have influenced our journey to share their journey with you. So this is a conversation. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions about Ethiopia. If you're looking for a way to get out the door and you've got a teaching background, if you have young children, this is a conversation for you. But above that, this is a conversation about how the move abroad process impacts your life and how you can structure it to meet the needs of you, your partner, your health, and do it for joy, for peace. Folks are living a beautiful life, and this couple, I'm so glad that the algorithm was good. Y'all, the algorithm was good. Hey. It was giving us the good by presenting this couple to us.
So if any of that, all of that, most of that, all of that is exciting to you, we ask you, first of all, that you like this video. We know you're here. I can see you all in the chat. It's telling me 500. No, okay, not really. That a lot of you all are here right now, but go ahead and hit the like button. Don't wait to the end of the video. Don't wait till the guests start talking. Hit like now because it's going to be great. Then, of course, subscribe to our channel because we want to be a part of your community more than it's about you being a part of ours. The joint opportunities that we've learned being a part of this community through this opportunity of YouTube has been beneficial to us. And then rock the bell, because if you know when something's going on, then you can be here with us as always.
Absolutely. So hello, Tanya Brooks, Beijing Alpha 4, Kim J, Francis, y'all. Hey, Journey with us. Oh, that's my sister.
Journey with us.
She done had a baby and everything. Like
Kimmy Apple.
People are living a full life. Yes.
Tanya's here, of course. Beijing Alpha 4.
Yes.
Kim J, good to see you. Francis. I get everybody in here.
Hey, Lori Butler.
Lori Butler. And anybody else coming, please let us know you're here and we'll try to make a time to shout out. So we're going to start off. We're jumping right in. We're going to jump in and bring in our guest for today.
We'll have them go ahead and introduce themselves and let's get started.
Hello. I'm Ian Minerve.
And I'm Joss Minerve.
And we are 2/5 of Minerves on the Move because we include our kids.
Yeah. So we have 3 children, 10, 5, and 7, Monty, Natalie, and Amari, who should stay asleep in their bed. It's 9 o'clock here, you guys. It's 9 o'clock.
Lord willing, hey, fingers crossed.
So will you tell us a little bit about like what the focus of your channel is, and how people, because I'm going to have you tell how folks can find you on Instagram, on YouTube, how they can follow. If you're doing anything else that could be supportive of the Move Abroad for families, let us know how folks can reach out to you and follow your journey.
Okay.
Sure.
Hey Tanya, I saw your comments. I just wanted to shout out. Hey Tanya. So it's funny. We started our channel a few years ago when we were living in Honduras. So we're mostly on YouTube. We actually just recently are trying to get on social media like Instagram and TikTok,
Right.
but I feel like we've kind of phased out of it. Like it's a lot of young people. It's too fast. Like we post sometimes, but
Finally, somebody understands. What do you understand?
too many reels. You got to dance, so we're
It's
there
a lot.
sometimes. So we started in Honduras, and really, we had two goals. And the first goal was we wanted to show Black families what a life abroad could look like, because I just couldn't find it. And I was really big on YouTube, and I was looking for people that looked like us. And I could find like singles, I could find couples, I could find like a man, I could find white people. But I'm like, where are the Black families? There's
Right.
no way that we are the only Black families abroad. Like the algorithm was not good to us. And then also when we were going to Honduras, we were, searching on YouTube because we decided to go to Honduras, and it was a lot of bad stuff. It was a lot of terrifying, frightening. Don't go to Honduras. It's safe. It's dangerous. Just a lot of horrible things, and I just didn't want to believe it. And obviously, we didn't. And one of the things that we talk about now is if you're gonna go abroad, you should listen to the people who are there.
Yep.
Not people who are not there, who say they have a friend or a cousin, they know someone, or they used to live there 20 years ago. But the people who are right there, right now, those are the people that you want to talk to about your journey abroad. So that I think that was the main reason why we started our YouTube, was because we wanted to, be a part of that community. We wanted to see faces like us, and there wasn't faces like us. And so we were like, well, we can do it.
Yeah.
And we also wanted to show everyone all the beautiful things about Honduras, because it is such a beautiful country, culture. We love Honduras, like in love with Honduras. But it's just so sad the way that the media portrays the country.
Yeah.
I talked a lot. Did you want to say anything?
No, that was beautiful.
That's why I just talked a lot.
What? Well. See, now I lost my words. Okay, so let's jump right in then. Okay, so that wasn't happenstance. Okay, you just don't wake up one day and get on a plane with a group of kids and say we're moving to Honduras. What was the process with that, and how did that conversation? Who started that conversation?
I was gonna say who started
that conversation, and how did that develop? Both inside your house as a couple, and then when you've made the decision, how the expansion of sharing that, because grandparents gotta have something to say when you got babies leaving.
Oh my gosh, yes.
How did that conversation grow?
So I'll jump with this, and then I'll let you.
Okay, we're gonna double dutch
yeah,
a little
because
bit.
I was like, so if we're being honest, I wanted to go abroad since forever.
I was saying no.
Yeah.
Why?
It was just
we
always
don't need to know what's over there.
Exactly. It was always like, well, we'll wait till later. We'll wait when we have more money, or we'll wait when the kids are older. We'll wait. Like there was always a reason. And it got to, I think, and I talked about this on Picky Girl's channel. I feel like, especially for women, especially Black women, we do this thing where we try to be as selfless and small as possible to be rewarded. It's kind of like
the martyr, yes.
It's everything. Like you put your dreams on hold for your kids. You put your dreams on hold for your husband. Your parents, you're getting older, so you got to put your dreams on hold. And it's just like the best compliment you can give a woman is, wow, she's so selfless. Like as small as you can just make yourself. And I think for me, I realized like my life can't stop. Like it just can't stop. But like, oh, we have a baby, because we had 3 babies and the babies just kept coming. And then, Ian's career was taking off. So then let me take a back seat, and my parents getting older. And I was like, what am I doing? And so I think I just kind of pressured Ian, like, okay, you're either coming with me or you're not. Like, I am going to do this. And luckily he was like, okay, I'm going. Do you want to say why we were in Honduras?
Well, yeah, so to jump in, she's 100% right. I just was reluctant at first. And then honestly, for me, the last big poke, because there were a lot of pokes, was just COVID-19 happened. It just hit the country so hard. And we both kind of looked at each other and had ongoing conversations about, God forbid, if this is the last year, how do we want to go out?
Yeah, right. This is the last year of our lives. The place,
and it's just really, at least for me, as you know, her partner, just put things in perspective with our 3 little ones, and just saying, you know, yeah, what am I afraid of? Like, why not? Why not? And just take the jump and
I think
see
we're
if something's
trained for
better.
that. We're like trained to believe that America's the best at everything.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, this is my personal opinion, but I think the only thing that America is the best in is thinking that they're the best. Like, there's no other country in the world that thinks that they're the best more than the United States. So I like every place we ever visited or lived, we have like a hierarchy, like, oh, we like Ethiopia for this, or we like Honduras for this, but we have always said every place is better than the States by far. Like, if the rest of my life I was going to live in Addis, Ethiopia, I would choose that over Atlanta, Georgia, San Francisco, California, New York. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I also had a unfair bias. I'm a first generation in the States because my family's from Trinidad and Tobago. And so I felt like, well, I've been there and I've kind of gone back and forth between the States and the West Indies. So all the other countries are probably the same, like really ignorant. And then somewhere in between making the big decision, we took a trip to Tulum, Mexico.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That, my brother, my sister, that like just changed my
Let me jump in there. So
perspective on everything.
Ian had been like, I've been abroad, but he, like he said, he'd been to the West Indies. Yeah. It's not the same because that's his home. Yeah. Like he's half American, half Trinidadian. Like, so it's just like me saying like, well, I know California, and then there's the whole Texas and New York. So it just is not the same.
It's not.
And so in my eyes, he had never been out of the country. But my degree is in Spanish literature. So I had studied abroad and learned all about Latin America, and I had lived in Argentina, and my parents were in the military. So I had memories of being in Germany. So I had known what life was, even if just a little bit abroad. So I was like, I'm going to go to Mexico because everyone loves Mexico. And the funny thing is, we were deciding between, should we go to Vegas or Mexico? And we almost went to Vegas. Like, we were this close because we love Vegas too, don't get me wrong. And so we were like, we're going to go to Tulum. And I had been to Tulum before, but he had never been. And my mom watched the kids. So thank you, Mom. She had all 3 of the grandbabies, and we had the best trip ever. It was the best trip ever.
Yeah. And to this day, that's my favorite trip.
Yeah, it was the greatest. And obviously, like, life abroad is not always a vacation. Yeah. But I think for him to go abroad, like, he was like, this is Mexico? Like, it's like the way people talk about Mexico, like, I've just heard some like such ignorant things like, oh, Mexico can't be that great because they're coming over here. Well, there's a lot of people here who are going to Mexico. Like, everyone has reasons why they migrate and move.
And then it helped also while we were there to meet people from various parts of the world, and just hearing a little piece of their story intrigued me to say, well, I want to have a story of my own. Yeah, we met people.
Haji, guy named Haji.
Guy who, he looked like, someone from Georgia. I went over to him and he's like, no, I'm German.
Yeah, just this black guy from Germany.
He's like, you guys must be American though. I could tell.
Yeah, it was really funny. And one thing that Haji said that actually sticks to me to this day is he said, wow, you guys are out. We never see you Americans out. Yeah. You guys are always working. Yeah. And that's true to this day. Those places, we don't ever see other Americans.
No, it's rare. Actually.
We'll see Canadians, South Africans, Europeans, El Salvadorians, but we do not see other Americans.
Yeah.
Like that's very
Wow.
rare because we are always working. We're always working. It's exhausting.
The culture is capitalism is built to keep us tight to that, to help us to stay on the grind. And I think it's not until you intentionally put yourself into other spaces that make you question it, because it's groupthink. Like it's normal in the States to not have maternity leave. It's normal in the States to only get, if you're lucky, 2 to 3 weeks of time away.
And
it's
credit.
Not until you start looking and are like, how are Europeans taking 6 weeks off? How is siesta a whole cultural vibe? Like everybody, business owners, you don't know what you don't know. And so the whole idea of moving out of your space is to shake it up. Because groupthink keeps you in the box.
Two things. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying two things that you all have mentioned that I want to expand on it, reiterate. We say all the time. So wives listening, partners listening, husbands, Black men who've not had a chance to travel, change their minds when they travel. If there's reluctance involved, help them see the bigger picture. Our brains are designed to evaluate what we don't see by what we do see. Our brains are designed that way. I think that Black women in particular are raised to be free birds, and as partners, we're raised to let you be free. So we get a kick out of you doing all the things you do. We're trained to find the box and
secure it,
but also to clean it, to refine it, to make it be what it is. So then when you ask us to do something outside of that box, you get reluctance. You get, I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense. And you, I mean, what you said was valid. I've been to the islands. What's different from the rest of the world? I've been there, thought, I've seen that. And because a lot of times in our education system, we're not exposed to the diversity and beauty of the world. We're exposed to facts. We're exposed to information. We're exposed to pictures that are way older. It's like looking in the apartment guide for an apartment, and you're going, oh yeah, this apartment right here. And then when you get there, it's like 40 years old, and you're like, this is not what's in the book. And so what is presented to us in our education does not really resemble the beauty that is the rest of the world. And so our minds don't adapt to that. And if traveling isn't a part of our history, then we don't, it doesn't make that move forward. What other things were you reluctant about? What other things caused you doubt about that making a move being a process? Because
I mean, to put it bluntly, when we were looking at Honduras and a few other countries at the time, it was just what the media was showing, which was majority negative. And it was like, so hold on. You want me to say okay to us taking our whole family, because it's not just us as a couple, as kids are involved, to entrust that this trip is going to be successful. And I mean, you hit it on the head with what you were sharing, Herman. Like, I was just going in my mind saying, are the kids going to be okay, first and foremost? And then, how can I support my wife with a language I know nothing about, a culture I know nothing about? So just my own insecurities, honestly, just popping up, and I'm just like, can I handle this?
Yeah.
And that's a real mature conversation you have to have with yourself. And I did that. And then just talking to my wife, one of the things she shares often that I hold dear is, would you rather, live this safe, play it safe, I kind of know what to expect kind of lifestyle, or you die with these heavy regrets?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't want to die with heavy regrets. Like I
have
want to
the
experience
what's
it
it
and know.
called? FOMO? Yeah, FOMO.
fear
I
of
had
missing
like
out.
before FOMO was a thing, I would be like, somebody could be like, okay, Jocelyn,
Yeah.
if you give me $500 and invest in this thing, you're gonna make money.
Mhm.
And there's a person who's like, well, I don't want to do that because I'm gonna lose what if I lose my $500?
Yeah.
But my mind is like, oh my God, if I don't do this, I could miss out on the $5,000. Like, so I'm always thinking, I just feel like I would have rather went to Honduras and been wrong about everything and failed, because you can always just go back. And I think you're so right, Herman. I feel that's the divide between men and women. I think women, it's because we're mothers and we're sisters and we're wives, like we know how to make a house into a home. I can go into the kitchen right now and Ian's like, there's no food. I can make a meal. Like we can do it. And so we're so used to like taking care of everything and everybody. Our brain can't compute fail. Like, what do you mean fail? That's not gonna happen. I would be like, that's never gonna happen. If we get there and we fail, we just
We
come
can
back.
always go home. Exactly. There is no fail there. Yeah.
Go back. I know it's not like maybe there's someone out there who's like a CEO and making 7 figures. We are 2 teachers.
Yeah.
Like we were 2 teachers in Georgia.
But regardless, and here's the challenge, I think, for men is regardless of our career track, the level of notoriety our job gives us, we are expected to be stable providers. And stability means I know what's going on and where I am. Risk is not a part of stability in the man's mindset. So when you're asking a man to risk, you're saying you said Ian, exactly what I hear all the men saying. You're asking me to take these plans, throw them away, no language, no skills, no culture, no understanding, no family, no support, because the support system that women create for each other and the support system that men fail to create for themselves creates insecurity.
Yeah.
And I applaud you saying it takes a really mature, personal, internal conversation. Forget the conversation we're having, because we can make that sound good. Right. But the personal conversation that I have to have with myself that says, okay, what's the benefits? Am I going to hurt? Can I make this work? What's my place? Because there's also a will I be needed? When I wide lead the conversation, you're miles ahead of us. You've thought about it, you've planned it, you've talked it, and I need you to understand that, especially as husbands in particular, we already feel behind you as it is. We're never that smart. Husbands that are fully in love with our wives, and even guys who are highly jealous kind of personalities. A lot of that jealousy is a stem of my recognition of my insufficiency to your greatness.
Yeah.
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 And so now you've thrown in risk on top of that. I found a stable place. I found a place where I can be appreciated and respected. And now you just took that and you said, we're going to crumble yours up and make mine bigger. And I think sometimes that conversation is missed. And for a young couple with young children,
all of that,
to say, not we're moving across the country, but we're moving far away. We're moving far away. How did your families react and respond, embrace, reject? How did that go?
Honduras and Ethiopia, completely different reactions.
True.
Yeah, I want to say honestly, Ian actually picked Honduras.
I did.
We had every plan to go to Mexico or Panama. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go to Panama so bad, but we just did not get jobs there. And I'm not that risky. Like, I'm not gonna move 3 kids with no job. Right. So Then we're like, oh, we're gonna go to Mexico. It's gonna be so great. And just Honduras had a better, if I'm being honest, just like really blunt, they had a better contract. They gave us a better offer.
Yeah.
So like deep down inside, I wanted to go to Mexico. But just knowing Ian being candid about like, he wants to be able to provide and, for us to be secure and more stable, it made more sense to go to Honduras. They're offering us more money and more benefits and just a better house and just things were just better on paper. So we knew nothing about Honduras except what was on YouTube, which was all bad. And then we were talking to people who were there who were like, no, it's not like that. Yes, there's movie theaters and there's Burger King and there's safe neighborhoods and there's unsafe neighborhoods. So the people on the ground assured us that it wouldn't be what we saw on YouTube as far as what they try to portray all of a beautiful country.
Yeah.
So our parents, not our parents, and I see some of our family members on there. So I just want to say hi. I think I see my mom and my dad and my auntie and my godmom, but hi to everyone who's saying hi. But no, they were not supporters at all. But I probably do the same thing. Like, honestly, like they didn't want us to go because they were going to miss their grandkids. But that was also a reason why we chose to go to Latin America first, because in our brains, we're like, oh, Honduras, Mexico, that's like a 2-hour flight from where we are.
Yeah.
I think 3 hours tops from like where our family was. Yeah. So we were like, they get there in 3 hours. It's 3 hours from Atlanta, 3 hours from Tobago. Like we're gonna go to Latin America because we can still get to our family. But they were like, no, my mom was sending me crazy stories. Just like every news article was like, somebody got chopped up by a machete, just crazy stories. Like,
we know it's from a good place, Mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her mother too.
Yeah.
Just the crazy. But I would retaliate. I'd be sitting in like school shootings and people breaking in their Atlanta, like send the same things back, but they were just all within like a mile radius of the house. Like, yeah, don't walk outside today. They're just gonna drive by and shoot you. So I think they were, and one of my aunties too. They did not want us to go.
Yeah,
that's my
thing.
Oh my God.
Getting checked live.
Who was happy, but no one else.
And kind of likewise, my siblings were concerned. But I think for me, more importantly, me and my father had a good heart to heart. And he was just like, if you're sure, and this is something that is going to benefit your family, why not? So that was really helpful and helped a lot. And then to throw out there, I don't know if it's going to come up in the conversation. Therapy helped. Going back to my insecurities, I had to work on me first, bro. Like if I was feeling stable and comfortable in myself, there's no way I was going to lead Jocelyn and our kids in a situation where it was like, it's the unknown and there could be high rewards, but all these risks, no, I gotta deal with me first. And I think having some real hard conversations with Jocelyn, with myself and my therapist, I finally was able to take the plunge and take the jump. And I haven't looked back since. It was the best thing that we could have done. And to this day, I always say, I'm so sorry, love, because we should have done it sooner.
Our lives were horrible in the States. But the thing is, like you said, you don't know what you don't know. Right. So we know now how bad our life was. And we look at family members and friends we love, and their life is so miserable. And they will say, like, I wish we could do what you're doing. But you can. But you don't know it because we were like, I was like, man, I wish I could do what my friend Taylor's doing, because my friend Taylor had been traveling the world and doing all this fun stuff. And I'm like, I wish I could do that. But we tell ourselves all the reasons why we can't. We can't have our job. It's so good. What about our kids? Their friends. They're in high school now. They're too old. There's like a bajillion reasons you can tell yourself. If you want to think of a reason, I can give you 100 reasons why you shouldn't go abroad.
Yeah.
So it's just really trying to tune all that out. And then, it's so crazy because we actually, some people might know this if you follow our channel. My stepfather recently got ill back in October. He has since then passed, but we went back to the States for 6 months, and so our kids could be with him.
Yeah.
I was helping my mom take care of him, and that experience was difficult. But what was even more difficult was returning back to the States. It was so awful. It was just, I just kept being like, we lived like this before.
Yeah, it was more eye-opening.
Like, it was horrible.
You weren't a part of the situation. You were a spectator now, saying, hey, this is unhealthy, right?
Especially the work. Like, I'm not saying I don't want to work. Like, because we work here. But the amount of work that you do in America, like just even the amount of energy you give to your job. I feel like I gave 150% to my job in the States, and it still wasn't enough. And I worked 80 hours a week to be like, can I eat pizza tonight? Do we have enough money? Can I put the kids in soccer? But like overseas, it's like I still am expected to be professional and work. But I feel like I give like 80% of my energy or 60% of my energy to my job. And then I still have less hours and more work-life balance.
For sure.
Like, it's just you would think living in the States, I would spend more time with my family and friends, but I think we spent less time because we were always working and they were always working and no one ever had money. It was just an awful, horrible experience. Like, it's just, and then I see like my older relatives who are supposed to be retiring and they can't retire. Like, it's not enough money. All the money, I've seen them work for my entire life, and they're well into their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they still have to work because the money that they've saved is still not enough, and prices still keep going up. And nobody on the planet should be like, I worked 150% of my energy at my job for the last 60 years, and I can't afford to live. And I have to drive Uber at 70. That doesn't make
my dad did not want to retire because he did. But he said, because it was true. He said, I work a good job. I watch my colleagues retire and have to be Walmart greeters so they can have health insurance, so they can afford health insurance. And he was like, I don't want to retire to be a Walmart greeter. These are the realities that I think we have to navigate. And that moving abroad, Journey with us is in the chat right now. And one of the conversations that she had was, you give to these employers, and it's never enough. You think, if I get an extra job, if I do a little bit more, then I'll be able to. And it's like, there's always going to be something that eats away at that. When you made the leap, was it as good as you thought it was going to be? What was the picture you had in your head for Honduras, and what was the reality? Because I want to say it's all good, but y'all know it's not all good out here. It is not. This move abroad isn't always the bed of roses that we wanted to be. So if you're able to share, what were your thoughts, and what was the reality that came forward for the life you were trying to create?
So I just whispered to Ian, like, actually it was pretty good. Like, I wish I could be like, but it was actually roses. Like, it was so good. Our life, Honduras, it was, but I think we also had very low expectations.
I would never say I had low expectations. My biggest hope was just, let's do it. And then a year from now, I could check that off my list. Again, back to my man mind of, well, we did it, babe. So we did it. We tried it. Now let me get back to my plan. What's so crazy is what ended up happening was, I was converted and I'm like, okay, we're never going back to the States.
Yeah, like that was a little scary for me because I hadn't reached that level yet. Which is so like we switched.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wanted to go abroad, but I thought like, oh, we'll do this for like 5 years or something, and when the kids go to high school, we'll come back. But we were there for like a month, and he was just like,
"This is life.
I'm Catracho now.
Yeah.
Like I am Honduran. We live here. We are here
Seriously.
forever. Like
Seriously, because I think for the first time, at least in my life, I'll just speak for myself.
Yeah.
I felt like job was covered. I was able to do what I was passionate about when it comes to the job front.
Yeah.
Spending time with my wife, we were able to spend so much quality time
because I like
that
financially
I didn't
too.
realize, like, man, no, this is what quality time is.
Yeah.
Like constant days where she and I could just sit down and talk about nothing, like just shoot the breeze.
That's something we talk about, is like moments of peace. When we
Yes.
were back in the States for like 6 months, I felt like there was always something on my mind.
Mhm.
And you hear in the States this talk of like mindfulness and staying in the present. We never talked about that in Latin America because it's just
part
a
of your
part of
day.
your life. No one's like, let's practice mindfulness, because there's so many moments that I'm just like, I'm just going to sit on the porch. There's nothing in my brain. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking about anything because I have enough time to do everything that needs to be done. But yeah, Honduras, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was
It's a wonderful country. I can't say, like, are there stupid people? There's stupid people everywhere. So I know a lot. I think my concern is, like, especially as a mom, I'm always thinking about my kids. I was like, is there going to be racists there?
Mhm.
Are people racist in Honduras? Is it okay for Black people in Honduras?
Mhm.
And the more that I've gone abroad, the more I'm like, that can't stop me from staying here. You know, we lived in Dominican Republic for 6 months, and people were like, I wouldn't go to Dominican Republic. Dominicans are so racist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's racist. Didn't you get called the N-word by somebody like the other day? Like, didn't you say that your daughter was getting bullied in school?
Yep.
Like, what are you talking about? There's Black people getting shot all over America, and nothing's being done about it. So I don't know what you're talking about. There's racism everywhere. And the thing about racism abroad is that my life is not at stake. Like, racism in America is my children cannot walk down the street because their life is at risk.
Exactly.
Ian cannot drive in a certain neighborhood because his life is at risk.
Yeah.
No one's life is at risk in Honduras. But even I'm not going to say that there's no racism in Honduras, but I will say that I have never experienced racism in Honduras. And if you know anything about Honduras, there's a huge Garifuna population, which is just basically Black Hondurans.
Yep.
And people would always think we were Garifuna.
Yep.
Like, always. We kind of just blended in with the whole country. Like, no one ever thought we were anything but Honduran or Panamanian, Dominican. They never thought we were American.
Right.
And it's the last thing I'm going to say about this. But I think for me, when I say like the roses, we had financially, we were well better off.
Yep.
Emotionally. But something that I'd never experienced in Honduras was privilege.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And I tell Ian all the time, like, Black all the time, because he understands racism in America. But I feel like sometimes he doesn't get sexism. And I'm like, I don't understand how you don't get it. Because it's like when you try to talk to like a white counterpart and they're like, racism, like, we're so much better off now. Everything's so much better. And I'm like talking to Ian, like, okay, you get that. And like me being a woman, it's like, huh? Like, it's like, I don't know. So being in Honduras, because people don't see you as Black. Yeah. They just see you as American. There's so much privilege in being American. I didn't realize I was American because no one called me that growing up.
Until we went there.
Yeah.
Like, wait, you talking to me?
Yeah. I was like, huh? Because if you see 5 people, like you see my family with dreads, me and my cousins with gold teeth, they're not like, look at those Americans. Yeah. They used to like, look at those Black people.
Right.
So being identified as American and the privilege that comes with being American, which obviously there's a lot of like feelings that I have about that. Like, oh my gosh, like the privilege that I have just by being American.
Yeah.
But people treat you differently. Like
yeah.
at work, on the street, like you're at work and people really care. Like, oh, look, tell me what you think. And they really put into place what you said. Like I was shocked when my principal did that. Like called me to her office, asked me what I thought, and then really put into place the things that I told her. Like I was just in a state of shock from that. Or like people wanting to help me. Like, oh, miss, you shouldn't be alone at night. Let me help you. And like helping my daughter. And I was like, is this how white women feel? Like, what? I was like, what is happening? Like, I don't think, like, I'm not trying to get into like the spirituality, but like the, you know, like the femininity era. I'm like, oh, this is what being feminine is. Because I'm a 6 foot tall Black woman with dreads. And I feel like.
And she's loud. And
yeah.
Being in a professional setting where we were having an adjustment and Jocelyn was having a mom moment and was freaking out about something that was happening with our kids. You know, Black women don't play about their kids. And so her higher up was like, go home. It's okay. Don't worry about anything. Come back when you're ready. Both of our jaws dropped. We were like, what? Like that ended the discombobulation.
I never got to talk about like being aggressive at work. No, like it
was accepted as that's her emotion. This is what's going on. You need to take care of you and respect it.
And so I always have feelings toward that. Like, is it because I was American and like people just saw me like I had this privilege, or was it like my Blackness didn't matter anymore? Like it's just so many things, but that was like a weight off my shoulders being a bride, and people just treated me like, you know, aren't I a woman too? Like, you know, that blew my mind. That was great.
Listening to the conversations that we've had with the couples over this past year and a half, that is a common vein of statement of, I went from being this race to being American. So if there was any discrimination against me, it was because I was American. And you know, and that is like you said, that's a new realm for most of us as people of color, because my color matters. The assumption of my background matters and is affected by what is going on. And to be able to say, I'm breathing now because that's a factor I don't have to worry about. You know, it's just a matter of, okay, Americans do it this way. And, you know, and you kind of having to deal with that challenge and that difference. That's a big deal. Go ahead.
Before you transition, sister, you said something that I want to give air to in this space. You said, I was able to feel feminine. There is a lot that Black women take on their shoulders that I feel like requires that we tap into the masculine aspect, okay? Where I have to be defender, where I have to be on guard. I'm looking forward to being able to lean into, I don't have to have the barrier up. I don't have to have a space where my spouse must exert himself to create a safe space for me, that I can move in the world and not have worry and defense and strength as my identity, that I can breathe and I can relax. And that not only does that have a positive impact for me, but I think it could also have a domino effect for my spouse and for my children. That is, as I talk to women, that is what I feel like is the unexpected joy of moving outside of the US. It's being able to tap something that we don't have the space or the privilege to as Black women. Am I hearing that from you, or am I just
No, that's exactly like we are
to something else?
right here. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before we move the shift to Ethiopia, we've been addressing the all the grown people in the room, but an important factor here is the other individuals that live with you, the little people, your children, and I think it's important for us to take a moment and address that, because I think you have two factors that happen. Either people are moving whose kids are too grown to have to worry about it, or they're, as some of our guests are, their children are at the end of their time at home before they transition to college. But moving with little ones who you got a long life in front of dealing with and taking care of with them. Tell us a little bit about their experience in this move, how you developed a conversation with them, how they are adjusting, because you've moved 3 times. You've moved 3 times over the course of their young lives, how they're adjusting to these changes. And these are not the same places, so they're having to make some adjustments. How is that going for them? And I think it's important because we have people who say, I got to wait till the kids are older. I got to wait till the kids are grown. We say all the time, if we had known when they were, as they say down in the South, when they were arm and knee babies, I've never said that out loud before. When they were little bitty people, that we could have made these choices with them and for them, we would have. How did that come about, and how are they doing?
Let me start. So I really have to credit Jocelyn for no, seriously, just being very diligent with the research, and then always keeping an open dialogue with whatever we're talking about to say, hey, how are we going to include the kids? And so we did our research first, but then included them to see videos, to talk about it, to inquire, what might be some things we will encounter when we go to these different countries.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. It was never planned to move 3 times. That was never planned. It was, we were like, we're going to go to Honduras and we'll be there for like 4 or 5 years. And then we'll move somewhere else. And then we'll have our last stop. Mm-hmm. And so in our brain, we'd be in Honduras for like 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And we thought we would go to Africa when the kids were in high school, because we would stay there the longest. Yeah. And we thought it was better to start closer, because like we said, we want to keep the kids from their cousins and their grandparents. Right. And that was the great thing about being in Honduras. Once I was there, started the YouTube channel, then my auntie and my mom and everybody, my cousin who was like, what? They're like, wow, it looks great. Like once they could see me like at a cafe, at a beach, at a waterfall, chilling in my house, walking around, it was like, okay, it does look great. I want to visit. And so many people came to visit us. Yeah. My stepdad, my dad, my mom, my cousin, my friends, and people wanted I had to be like, we need to start lying and tell people we don't have no breaks. Like everybody kept wanting to visit us all the time. So we had tons of people come, which was nice. The kids would get to see their friends and their family. Yeah. So they loved Honduras. I think the hardest transition was my oldest. We told him, like, it's a 2-year contract. We're only going to be here 2 years, hoping he would change. Yeah. I think the first month was the hardest because the language, but they all spoke Spanish by the time we left. But I think after like 1 month, just randomly at dinner, he says, Mommy, do we have to move? Can we just stay in Honduras forever? And I was like, yeah, because it was so much better for a child. Yes. I feel like in the States, especially with the public school education system, which is all we could afford, is public school for all 3 kids, it's like sit down, don't turn around. There's no compassion, no empathy. There's not enough recess. The school lunch is trash. Even as a child, school was so much better. And the things that were important to him, like being able to play with his friends and just be able to relax. Like it was just better for him. So they definitely loved it. So we actually only left Honduras because there was like a visa issue. And so we were trying to figure that out. But while that was happening, we're also searching.
Yeah.
And we knew that when we were in Honduras, we were at a very wealthy school, which was an international school. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to work there. They want to work in international school. It's the best school in the country. And it serves wealthy Hondurans. But I was like, I don't think these are even my people in Honduras. Like the wealthiest people in the country, that's who you're hanging out with, and your friend, and all your kids' friends have drivers and maids, and their driver chauffeurs them to a play date. Like that wasn't. I'm not saying that's wrong. Right. And I met a ton of friends, and I still have friends there. And but I wanted to be with more people that I could relate to, kind of just like more authentic to me. So that was what we were looking for, which is how we ended up in Dominican Republic. We were just we weren't at an international school. We were at a small community. Most of the kids there were Dominican, Haitian, a few Canadians, but my kids were basically living like Dominicans. Which was an even better experience.
I agree.
And so we left Dominican Republic because we would still be there. We left Dominican Republic because that's when my stepfather got ill.
Yeah.
And that was even hard. We kept going back and forth. Like, should we go? Should we stay? And so happy we left because he passed 6 months after. And so if we hadn't, it would just been awful.
Yeah.
And so this is how we ended up in Ethiopia. So I'm telling this whole story. Like, how do we get in Ethiopia? So we had left Honduras. We had left Dominican Republic. We were in the States. And we were like, this place is terrible. We were trying to make it say work for like our friends. Like we missed our friends. But our quality of life sucked. Everything was really bad. So we were like, let's try to go back. We had spent so much money. Driving factors. We spent so much money coming back to the States.
Yeah.
Like, just if you're like, we're moving our whole family to America. Like, we went from being able to live off of $20,000 a year for a family of 5 and be able to save like $10,000 while living a life of luxury to being like, we make 80, but after taxes is 30, and we don't have no money, and we don't have a car. It was horrible. We can't afford to live. We couldn't. It was just a bad experience. So we wanted to go back to Latin America, but originally our plan was always to go to Africa for high school. And we said, no, let's go now. Let's go now because we've been around everywhere.
Yeah.
And let's make this work. Let's stay here for a few years because ultimately we do want to live and retire and like just be in Latin America. So we were like, we're not going to go to Latin America, then move to Africa, and then move back to Latin America. Like, let's go now for the next 3 years, we hope. Let our kids finish middle school and elementary, and then just go back either to Honduras or Dominican Republic because we love them so much. And it's, I don't know if you want to jump in because he actually picked Ethiopia. It was him. I was the one this time, like, I don't want to go to Ethiopia. It's the farthest country in Africa. I don't speak Amharic. Like, all the things he was feeling. Now I was like, I was driving everyone crazy. I was telling him, I don't think I want to go. But I have to go because he moved to Honduras for me. Like, I was going crazy.
Yeah. She's right, 100% with everything. My only 2 cents that I would lead with that, for the kids, we made it an adventure and just educated them on their level for each age. And then once they were there, we were very adamant about making sure that they were immersed in the language and in the culture that was there. And to Jocelyn's point, once they were actually there and gave it a chance, and we continued to encourage them on good days and struggling days, like with our oldest, they developed habits that we always wanted them to have in the States.
I forgot about that.
But it could never be developed in the States because of our lifestyle and our environment. those two different environments, our kids grew in creativity. We were constantly told whenever we would visit the States, wow, when we went to doctor visits, your kids have such vivid
They're
imaginations
so
at
mature.
this age. Usually kids'
I
imaginations
forgot when
go away at
we
this
came back to
age.
the States.
Go ahead, go
We
ahead.
came back to the States after being gone in Latin America, where it's the school systems are horrible, and our daughter had to take the MAP test. She just coincidentally showed up right around MAP test time. She scored highest in the state and was accepted into like the high ability school in the state that like everybody wants to get in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I really think it's because in the States we're like drill and kill, remember these facts. But like Ian said, abroad, because there is the siesta, and Latin American culture is so like amor, corazón, love, cielito, like
Living in family.
yeah, everything's so family oriented, especially community. Like you cannot go outside and not speak to people. Like as soon as you walk out the door, there's
Not
Doña
gonna happen.
Luisa, like hola, like everyone's talking, everyone's watching everyone's kids.
Yeah.
So I think all that love and like there was no stress. Like you don't realize how stressed. If you're stressed in America, your kids are way more stressed.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah.
school is like a little stressful job.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what made her or my kids so much more intelligent because they felt safe.
Yeah.
And I feel like the bullying epidemic, we don't really talk about that in America. There's so many bullies in school. I think kids bully each other. I think kids bully teachers. Like I just think there's so many bullies. But in Latin America, like there could be a kid wearing the same shirt 3 days in a row. No one would ever say anything. Like ever. Like they don't, that's not a thing. Like what kind of shoes are those? Do you have an iPhone? Like people are driving a 1995 type Toyota Dodge right now.
And it's fine. Perfectly fine. Yeah.
You want to interrupt you?
No, that was good, baby.
Yeah. So how do we get to Ethiopia though?
Oh, so we to make a long story longer, we were at a job fair, and we kind of already made up our mind about another Latin country. And we said, well, we'll just go and explore it. And in the job fair, we heard from some notable people who've been in the international teaching market. And they said this line that hooked me and Jocelyn, which was just keep an open mind because you never know what's out there. Yeah. And I don't know why we listened.
Yeah, because we were like, it was like at the job fair. So if there's any teachers listening, there's 2 big job fairs every year in the States. There's one called AMISA, so that's AMISA, and the fair usually happens in Atlanta. And the other one is ISS, International School Services, I think. And that one usually happens in New York, but they both happen every year, and they're really inexpensive. And so we were like, we're just gonna go and see. And if you go to the job fair, you're gonna get a job offer. You are going to get a job offer somewhere. You're going to get hired on the spot somewhere because you have jobs from everywhere. Yeah. Dubai, Qatar, Brazil, China, Argentina, Aruba, the Cayman Islands.
Okay. I did want to dive into this. Okay, so I have a master's in education, but and we homeschooled our kids for 6 years.
Beautiful.
Tell me what are the entry requirements? Do I have to get a teaching license?
No.
What are they looking for?
Now, there's going to be different tiers of schools, just like in America. You have the worst public school in the nation, and then you have the most elite private school there is in the nation. So it's going to be the same thing at a job fair. You might have a small school that has 100 kids, and it's a for-profit school, and it's really caters to a really wealthy community. But then you might have a true international school. So our school in Africa I call a true international school, where everyone is from everywhere. There's 70 different languages spoken at our school. There's kids from all over. So in my classroom, I have kids who are Ethiopian, Kenyan, American, Irish, Canadian. They're from Georgia, the country. They're from everywhere because their parents work for the embassy or they're diplomats, whatever. Yeah. But in Honduras, we worked at a school that was 99% Honduran. Yeah. So our kids were the only Americans there in the entire elementary. So it depends on what type of school you're going to.
Mhm.
So I would say as long as you have a bachelor's degree, you need to have at least a bachelor's degree. That's the bare minimum.
Mhm.
Now, if you
in anything or in education?
in anything.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the bare minimum. Now, if you have the bare minimum, like I have a bachelor's degree in art, then you probably will be at a smaller school
Mhm.
in Colombia, which there's nothing wrong with a small school in Colombia.
Mhm.
And you just live in the beautiful mountains of Colombia, and you probably spend your time outside of school exploring, drinking coffee.
Mhm.
Like that's what you're doing. And you're not going to get paid nearly as much,
Mhm.
but you will always get paid more than America.
Mhm.
So the thing is, countries like in Colombia, they have the Colombian peso.
Mhm.
In Honduras, they have lempiras. Here in Ethiopia, they have birr.
Mhm.
So let's say the school in Colombia says we're only going to offer you $20,000, which is the equivalent of 100,000 Colombian pesos. I don't know. One person in a small town in Colombia can live off of like $5,000.
Yeah.
So if you want an amazing life with a beautiful house and a driver and a maid and a nanny, then you probably can live off of $10,000.
Mhm.
So that means you save $10,000 a year. You cannot live in America and have a maid, a driver, a nanny in the best neighborhood and save $10,000 a year. You cannot do it. So you have to look at it from a logical perspective. Now, if you do have a master's degree and it's in education and you're licensed, and on top of that, you have years of experience, then you can probably work at one of these top tier schools
Right.
where you will save $50,000 a year per person. So you and your spouse now save $100,000 a year
Right.
while also living an amazing, extravagant life. So I think that's the biggest difference as far as like your accreditations and your skill set is the financial gains.
Mhm.
But as far as the lifestyle gains and the health gains, there's not a place I don't think you can choose. Even if they're giving you $8,000,
Right.
your life will be better in Algeria than it will be in Albania. Like every country will be there. Every country will be there. So you'll get a job somewhere. We had, I think, 8 offers.
Yeah.
We had an offer from, what was it, that place? We were like, where is this?
Kazakhstan.
Yeah, Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
Yeah, Kazakhstan. I didn't know where that was. I
Yeah.
just like that's maybe everybody in the world knows Kazakhstan, but I had to Google it.
I didn't until that.
Sorry, I'm a geography buff, so I know exactly where.
Yeah, I had no, and it was cold. I was like, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
They had a great offer, but I was like,
They
it looked cold. It was far. I was like, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? Why are we talking at this table?
How many hours a day are you working on average? Or how many hours a week are you working on average?
I feel like I work a lot here. This is probably the heaviest workload I've had.
Mhm.
And when I say that, I work like 50 hours. So probably that's probably not a lot, but
Yeah.
I work because our school day is a lot longer.
Mhm.
We go into school at 8 and we leave at 4:30. And I virtually do no work outside of school, outside of like sometimes we have events. So that's why I'm kind of like saying probably like 50 hours. But I'm telling you, I worked 80 hours in America. I worked 80.
So I'm a recovering workaholic. In the States, easily I would work
80 hours.
85 plus hours.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Currently, I work about 50 hours, and it's.
But he's also studying. Like he's working 50,
So-
but he's doing the PYP training.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
so my workload is predicated to my conditions. My current conditions are I'm teaching, but then I'm also a middle school basketball coach, but then I'm also in these like my wife was saying, PYP courses. So I'm doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again, I'm doing all of that and it's only 50 hours of my life. And then afterwards, I'm still being able to socialize with locals.
Right. I'm still able to do a YouTube channel.
I'm still able to do what I love to do, which is play basketball just with other adults. Like we're enjoying our life. We're working hard and playing hard.
Yeah, that's a good.
And it's a very beautiful balance.
Yeah.
And we're spending time with our kids.
Yeah.
We went on a hike this morning.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that was an adventure.
That's a big deal. My mother was a teacher, and she would be at school before the school day started, and she'd be at school hours after the school day started. Part of that was how she worked. A part of that was as she got older, what they were requiring the education system, and she was just like, "There's so much other stuff that's not teaching that I now have to account for."
His mom was still making home visits. 8 years ago?
Yeah,
she was still when she had students that were having issues. She would meet with parents at their house versus them having to come to the school because. When you understand a child's environment, and that was what she was about. And it's the education system is more than demanding. When you're considering if teachers can carry guns at school, teaching here, it's just, I thank you for being open to talking about your day and how you're able to fit your life. Because it's not work-life balance. It's like I live and my work comes off of that lived experience.
Yeah.
Because at my largest culinary job at the university, minimum I was working 60 hours, and that was just kitchen work. That you're saying you're adding in all the extracurricular things that the school has you doing as 50 hours. 60 hours minimum was what I was working, and that was just cooking to going home, cleaning, that's a part of the process, so it's not even separate from that, because that's scrubbing and grinding, and that was minimum 60 hours. And it always is funny to me. I don't know if you remember this, but if you go to any Asian, and I'm using Asia, so including, Chinese restaurants, Indian restaurants, they open up at 11 o'clock, they close at 2 o'clock, they open back up to 5 o'clock, they close at 8 o'clock. And that's here in the States. And I used to be like, what is wrong with these people? I want a buffet, and I want some Indian buffet today. I can't be there at 2 o'clock. And then I realized that they are culturally maintaining their ability to go. And if you do business like that, and you create a quality product, then you increase your revenue because people will come when you're available. And in relationship to that, when you create avenues, I did a graduate level paper on boys and education. And I was like, a part of the problem boys have is there's not enough playtime in the school day. Boys need time to depressurize. They need a chance to roam. My sons never sat down in their classes, and they were head of the class. They drove their female teachers mad because they didn't sit down. But they're standing up. They were headed because they were in an active form versus sitting in that chair all day. And we lose that in the American education system. So I just
to add on to that, those habits follow you. So even if you're like, I'm gonna leave, I had to learn to calm down. Like when we first went to Honduras, because things like you talk about CP time in the States, but we're now Caribbean people time and like Latino or Honduran time. I would be like,
we'll get there when we get there, baby. If I told you 2 o'clock, it might be 6. It might be.
And the thing is, I was just things that I was so used to, like, you got to be on time, you got to have this, you have to have your lesson plans like this, like it's just ingrained. I had to learn, and my coworkers were like, calm down. Tranquilo, calma. Cálmate. Like, I remember the first day of school, I was paranoid. Because I was like, what's the dismissal process? No one has talked to me about the dismissal process. And they're like, what dismissal process? I'm like, well, the school day ends at 2:30. Then what do? I'm like, we open the door and say bye. And you just leave. And I was like, what? Like, how will the kids know where to go? Like, how will they, like, some kids have after school activities. How will they know where to go? Like, who's going to walk them? And they're like, they know how to get there. Like, they know how to meet their parents. Their parents will say, meet me by the tree, and the parents pick them up there. And I'm like, I'm realizing one, I was just giving myself extra work,
Yeah.
but two, we don't give kids those opportunities to be independent and responsible, so they never. And because I had kindergartners who you'd see, bye. They would get on the car,
Yep.
they would go to their volleyball practice,
Yep.
they go to they were fine. And that's when my son, when Ian was saying like our kids,
Yeah.
I remember him being like, "You forgot my jacket, mommy. You didn't tell me to do this, mommy." All that stopped.
Yeah.
Because even lunch, like at a public school, you just line up and you get the lunch because everyone gets free lunch, like a ticket.
Yeah.
No, you would see like a 5-year-old with money because you would get limpiras, and they have to go to the cafeteria themselves and buy food.
Yep.
And have to do change, like those experiences. And then in Dominican Republic with the siesta.
Ooh. Talk about it.
Oh my gosh. Like when we got there, I was like, we're not teaching you enough. Like I thought we had too many breaks.
Yeah.
Because we had a break, I think it was like 2 hours. It's from 12 to 1:45.
No joke.
That was one of the breaks. There was 2 breaks. But we had a break every day from 12 to 1:45 for lunch. And so you'd be like, bye. And I would be like, are the kids gonna come back? Like, how will they know? Like, who's watching them?
Yeah.
I never watched a kid. So the kids would just go and they would play football or soccer. They'd be out there with no shoes, stick ball, running around. A candy lady would come by. They'd all run to get candy, or the ice cream lady would come by. They'd all run to get ice cream. I would see like from my classroom, because I was like on the second floor down the hill. And like the older kids would be like, you need to calm down, make a line. Like the kids wouldn't be able to mediate themselves. Exactly. In the States, we control everything kids do. So then when something doesn't go their way, they just punch somebody.
Yeah.
They just punch somebody.
And they're separate.
Or they don't think. They're not able to think for themselves. Yeah. The problem solving. Yeah. And so when they get old enough to do it, then they go, I don't know how to do that.
We wonder why kids are leaving out of college and they got no plan, they got no goal. We micromanage things to the nth degree. And it's something.
Yeah, like play dates.
It's something that fathers, I think it's something that as men, I think drives us crazy. It's because we're like, my very first job out of college, I worked for Department of Rehabilitation Services in the Child Welfare Department. And so I spent all day picking up kids. And I was 22, 23 years old. There was no way in the world I was carrying children around all day long. So if their feet worked, they were walking down the hall with me. And and social workers were 99% women, and they would be spastic. Why you got that baby walking? Why are you letting them do it? And I was just like, I would go to pick up my kids.
Right.
And there was kids, and I was like, get your bag. And they get their own bag. And my kids, and they'd be like, why don't you take their bag from them? And I was like, because they're not handicapped. I mean,
exactly. They can hold it.
And that level of independent, I have 3 independent thinking children. And even with that, I think that they lack some of that still, that drive to do on their own. And they live on their own, 2/3 of them. And we have to monitor ourselves a lot and say,
they can do that.
They're going to have to do that. Because there's an immediate solution in our heads. There's an immediate process that says, listen, and I think that American children are hindered. There are things that we want to protect them from that are historical to the world and to our country. But having said that there has to be a balance between go, do. We need to be in eyesight of them to protect them, but not necessarily eyesight. And if they fall down, they fall down.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like those spaces don't exist in the States, and it's almost impossible for them to exist because in reality, it's so much more dangerous, especially for our children in America. Yeah. There is no way I was going to let Monty be like, okay, bye. You're just walking down the street of Atlanta by yourself, where it's the #1 sex trafficking city in the world or in the nation right now. Like, you cannot. Yeah, exactly. They're living like Gen X kids. That's what it really is. Yeah. I tell Ian all the time, we were the last generation, I feel like, where my mom could be like, you better lock this door. Don't let nobody in this door. If Jesus comes to this door, don't let Jesus in. And like you could just go to the park.
Yeah.
I would page my mom 911 if something happened. She give me money, I go get candy. You can't do that now. Somebody would probably.
Unfortunately,
I want to say you can, but the way the mentality is morphed in the States, you can't. But overseas, my son did not have a phone because no one has a phone in Dominican Republic. And I, for the first time I let him go, I was like, oh my God, my mom let me go. There were no cell phones.
Yeah.
How did she know that I made it to Angelina's house? She wouldn't know until I came home. And what if I didn't show home?
Yeah.
But we would let our kids, like Monty would get on the bike, his sister would get on the handlebars.
They take off.
Bye. All the kids just rollerblading, riding bikes, doing whatever. And all the neighbors just knows.
Yeah.
I go outside. Doña Luisa would be right there every day. Doña Luisa, oh, I saw Monty down there. He was hitting a stick. Like Doña Luisa would be telling everything.
Yeah.
So it's been so great abroad for our kids because there are unsupervised spaces where kids can just play. Like it's not a baseball practice. It's not a play date.
Right.
It's
not
just
a scheduled event.
I don't really know unless they tell me what happened or the neighbor, if they were doing something naughty, which luckily they usually don't.
Yeah.
But I think they are so much more mature than they ever could have been because they're just all handicapped in America. Because I see our cousins and I'm like, why?
You have shown us, I guess, let's say, so I don't think you've been there a month yet.
We have been in Ethiopia a month.
Yep.
Okay.
That was really the roses thing. Honduras was roses.
Yeah.
Just straight. I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Outside of traffic, people drove crazy.
Yeah.
But in Ethiopia, this is where I was like, okay, wait. And Ethiopia humbled me a lot because all those fears that Ian had, I now have them because when we went to Latin America, I speak fluent Spanish.
Yeah.
I can talk to everyone. Being here with my broken and my heart, it's been stressing me out. I can't speak to people. And then also I'm a 14-hour direct flight from my family.
Yeah.
If I want to talk to people, I'm 10 hours ahead of my Auntie Keisha. So it's like when I go to sleep, she's waking up. When I'm at work, it's just so hard to communicate. So I think the distance has been the hardest thing in Ethiopia. Ethiopia itself is great. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I hate that no one's ever going to visit us because the plane ticket's like $3,000 and the flight's $50.
Yeah.
So once we're here now, we're really here. It's a harder adjustment for sure.
Yeah, you definitely have to sit down and count the cost on those things because those are very real things that you have to be honest with yourself and your family if you're going with the family.
Yeah.
Is this something that we can handle? And we've managed to navigate. We're still navigating it, and family's been real supportive. I believe
they are really supportive.
Yeah,
it's just that it's just harder for everyone because everyone, most of my family can be like, oh, I can buy a $300 round trip ticket to Honduras in Dominican Republic and take a 2-hour flight. It's just really hard for our kids are young, so my brother's kids are young. He is not going to take 4 kids on a 14-hour flight to visit us in Ethiopia with every plane ticket being $2,000.
Right.
Yeah. You showed us the school. I was like, I wish that we could have afforded a school that looked like that. That when you said things that I'm just going to share things that resonated with me. When you said, I've had to ask my 4-year-old to sit still, and I'm so glad that there's not that level of constraint comparing expectations in the US with the opportunity to just be for small children. Those are things that are appealing. Tell us, as you've had experiences in Honduras, in Dominican Republic, and in Ethiopia, can you say Ethiopia is giving us this, if Ethiopia would be a good land for you if you're looking for this. Are you able to
Yeah.
to identify those things this early on?
For sure. One thing that I love about Ethiopia is Blackness. Like, the government is ran by Black people. The schools are ran by Black people. The streets are ran by Black people. Like, to see such Black greatness. And then just also not having that fear for my children. Like, they go to a school where so many people look like them, and there's some people that don't look like them, but to just know that they're completely safe 100%. I would say that's the biggest thing.
Yes.
I don't know how you feel.
No, I 100% agree. And what I've been noticing lately, I paused because it was hard to see because of the jet lag,
Oh my gosh,
because of the elevation of Ethiopia, which is, I think it's the 4th highest elevated city in the world.
Yeah, as far as like livable,
Coming
populated.
from the States to here, it was a huge adjustment on our physical bodies. That aside, just seeing the beauty of the culture here, I've noticed respect is huge here amongst women, amongst men, and you see it no matter what your status is, shown equally to one another. You know, I say in my communities, I grew up in the States, we would dap each other up, it's brother to brother. You're seeing literally the whole city. There's this greeting that they do with the men, and there's this greeting that they do with the women, and it is just beautiful to see Black people do that, no matter where you go.
Yeah,
no matter where you go.
It is pretty beautiful. So, also, I just feel like the culture is just like something completely different for me, because I grew up in California, and I'm not saying that all Latin cultures are the same, and I will say there's some similarities, but it's like here, I'm like, the food is totally different. The music is totally different. The smells are totally different. So everything's so beautiful. There's so much rich culture that's so different. Like everything, the dress, the hairstyles. Like, if you want to be surrounded by beautiful Blackness, that's like, I don't like to say the word cultural, but it's like all I can think of is.
Well, even with that Black history, I'm learning so much from my coworkers who were born and raised here. And they're like, yeah, you need to go to these landmarks where it's thousands of years of Black history. And it's like, what? And you can see it, you can touch it, you can taste it. And so I haven't personally had the opportunity yet, but that's my plan. And we're actually in the works of making it so that
I think what hits me so hard is, so I've been really trying to pick up Amharic, but it's really hard. So there's 2 words here, Forinji and Habasha. Habasha usually refers to anything that's Ethiopian, and everyone else is Forinji. And so, like I said, we're at a international school, and you would think like, oh, we're in Africa, there's so many Black Americans coming here. No, like in our cohort, it's like 4 of us, me and Ian and one other couple. That's in this cohort. There's a few other Black coworkers, but out of this school, I do percentage wise, the other 90% are not people of color. They're not white Americans, but they're also not Black people. And when you're walking around the street, you'll hear people say Forinji, 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 which basically means foreigner. It's kind of like gringo in Spanish. Never call us Forinji. Never. I'm always sister. Even people who don't speak any English. Sister, welcome back. Welcome home. I was not expecting that, because I also feel like in the States, there is a division sometimes between African Americans and Africans.
Absolutely.
So I didn't know what to expect. But here in Ethiopia, that was the most beautiful thing. Like, even on my YouTube, when I posted our latest video us in Ethiopia, just so many welcome homes. Not welcome to our country. Welcome home, sister. It's just been.
I was watching the video that you did when you were in the salon.
Yes, girl, because these locks need some maintenance.
We were in DC, and DC has a very high proliferation of Ethiopian expats, immigrants. And she was like, I don't know if they're gonna, we went to the shop and she was like, I don't know if they're just staring at me. And I was watching how they started off cautiously with you, but by the end, it was like you were like everybody was in the frame.
Yeah.
They were just in your, and it wasn't because they were trying to be on video with you. They were literally like embracing you. Yeah, I mean, and that's powerful to me, because I think that our natural inclination, and this is not to dismiss it, but our natural inclination is to if we're going to go to Africa, we're going to West Africa, we're going to where the rich dark people are, and because we got to go, and it's the transatlantic slave, we got to follow that up. And I think sometimes we take for granted that this continent is of our history. The continent, and it is diverse in peoples. This is diverse in looks and style. The people in Morocco look different from the people in Ethiopia and Egypt and in Nigeria. There's a diverse group of people who are all people of color, and a lot of people are saying when I get there, they didn't know I was American until I opened my mouth.
Yeah.
He
always he's mistaken as Ethiopian. Listen, I think he looks Ethiopian.
Just today. Just today, we were buying dinner, and some guy was staring at me, and I was staring back. I was just curious if he could speak English, and he asked me in English. He said, "Are you Kenyan? Are you South African?" Yeah. I said, "No, I'm neither, brother. I'm from the States."
And all the time, people come to him speaking Amharic. I'm like, man, because he has Ethiopia. I swear, if we did a DNA test or something,
strong roots here, brother.
Yeah.
I was going to say, has this encouraged you to do that? Because a friend of ours, she worked for an international nonprofit and was working through some projects. And that was the first time I'd ever heard people say, until you open your mouth, that was Vila. I was just like, she's like, to see on billboards, beautiful Black women, you're on, it's,
yes.
I feel like okay, so to share a little bit, I went to predominantly white schools growing up, and I chose to go to a historically Black college.
Oh, now HBC.
Because I was tired of being othered. Like, I was the only Black person in my grade for most of high school. And those transition years.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize what the value of the Black college experience touched and healed inside of me. And it is, I think, once we get used to being out of the country, it's where I think I need to spend time on the continent in some intentional way, because I think there's a part of me that desires to not be recognized, even as American. Like I just want to be, as you talk about with Black men, I don't want to stand out. I kind of just want to be.
We have what I'm going to call a sore thumb disease, especially as Black people, as Black Americans. We are used to standing out like a sore thumb, and we assume wherever we go, we're going to stand out like a sore thumb. We're going to be. We teach English online, and Korean guy, he said, "Well, where do you live?" And I said, "I live in Alabama." And he said, "Alabama or Auburn?" And I was like, "Neither. I'm not from here." It's the natural assumptions. And I was just like, I don't want to go somewhere and you assume because I'm Black, I'm hip hop, I'm gold tooth, whatever, because the whole world appropriates Blackness.
Yeah.
Let's just tell the truth. Okay. Yeah. K-pop is just hip hop. I mean, if we don't claim it, you wouldn't know jazz and blues and gospel and rock are all ours. If you don't know that, okay? And so we stand out as a sore thumb in our minds because of the stereotypes we face at home. here in the States. And we assume that those stereotypes follow, and it's not in some places they don't. In some places they do. But we carry that like a badge and fear at the same time, because I don't want to be seen as the black guy. I don't want to be seen as the rapper. I don't want to be seen as the angry person. I don't, the loud person, whatever. And have to remember that those moments are often moments of a discrimination that can't be avoided because it's the world. And discrimination is often a sign of, we'll use the word ignorance, lack of information, lack of exposure. And so people respond just like we started this conversation. Ian is like, I watch the news. I'm not going to Honduras. Are you kidding me? I'm just like, Honduras, Nicaragua, man, they're not doing that. And you can't be faulted for having those misconceptions and because of the misinformation. And we have to remember, as Black people, Black Americans in particular, to check ourselves when we're abroad, because those people got to get to know you.
Yeah.
Those people who react negatively are often just dealing with the information as they have. Just like your country misguides information, their countries do as well. That's what makes nationalism work. And when you check your expectations at the door, when you come into it and you take a deep breath, I won't be the one that's defensive. I won't be the one that has an attitude. You can weed out the people who are really trying to be rude versus the people who just are misinformed.
Exactly. I agree.
I'm so thankful that you all have given probably much more than we even anticipated in this conversation about how the move abroad was birthed in your spirit, how it connects, and then has brought forward some things that are good for a healthy marriage, are good for a healthy family, raising children, that you can go and grow, that the move is going to make shifts and turns. We are subscribed on all of our pages. I don't want to miss the good that when you can be transparent about, hey, I'm in a place, I'm doing a thing. I'm not exceptional. We're not exceptional. Okay. Look, we two people who have worked mostly in nonprofits, we don't have some big cash account that's helping us to move abroad. But what has been valuable is community and being able to ask the question of people where they are, understanding things on the ground. I can't wait to see how you continue to share your journey with us so that we can be seen. You have become what you were looking for. Hopefully the people in our audience recognize, hey, we need your stories in this space at whatever point you are in, because it's going to inspire and encourage someone else to consider, could it be different somewhere else?
Right.
They have given us an hour plus. At this hour.
At this late hour they have.
Absolutely.
They are 8 hours ahead of us. Thank you so much to you, first of all, for being a part of this conversation, Ian and Jocelyn. Yes. Thank you so much to all the people that came in, that participated and listened to this conversation. Please remember, if you're watching this from the future, in the comment section, please put #replay and let us know some of your thoughts and comments. We will be having you on again. This conversation is, there's a lot more conversation to have.
Man Monday is, you don't have to connect.
I will have Dee send the information through to you all. Y'all hold on just a minute before we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're H&D Abroad. Please subscribe to Minerves on the Move. Minerves on the Move. I'm gonna get it right in my mouth. Please subscribe. All that information is in the description. These young people are doing that doggone thing. And we are
Yes.
proud to have them be a part of our community and to be a part of their community. We ask that you will all join us again here. We'll try to be on here a couple of times this week. We're Asian D Abroad. I'm Herman, the lovely D.
And we have linked to their YouTube channel in the description of this video.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, there's a whole world out here. Fail forward. Joy is everywhere.
Answer
You
this.
can create it.
Answer
Yes.
this question.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at that.
Good question.
I'm no regrets. Only regret is not doing this sooner. That's the only regret.
Yeah.
Very content and happy with every single decision.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Glad to have you all. We'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much. We had such a great time. It was wonderful.
Stay behind. Hold on just a sec.
Okay.